Brilliant. Morning, everybody, and welcome to this Wednesday's Lunch and Learn with Action Coach. I'm Julie Cameron. For those that don't know, I'm a business growth specialist at Action Coach Solihull. And today I am joined by the lovely Susie Lowell from SJ Corporate Events. So afternoon, Susie.
Good afternoon, Julie. Hope you're well.
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing this afternoon?
Oh, I am good. I'm good. I think the sun's trying to come through, so even better.
I love it. So for those that don't know, Susie is the owner and founder of SJ Corporate Events, and I'm going to hand it over to her for the next few minutes and ask my lovely first question that I always do so far. So tell me about your business journey so far, Susie.
Oh, wow. Roller coaster, I think is fair to say. Who sets up a corporate event business in the middle of a pandemic when you can't do events?
That'll be you.
But it has been an amazing journey so far. I have met so many wonderful people. Yeah, it's been so much fun. I've loved it. If someone was to say, would you do it again? Yes, I would. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I'm continuously learning. Yeah, it's exciting, it's fun, it's scary. Yeah, all of the above.
So when did you start your business?
So it is a year old. So I had the idea, it was mulling over for quite some time actually. And then when the pandemic hit, I think like with most startup businesses, it was one of those where, shall I do it now? You know, let's just go for it. So yeah, so 1st of August of 2020 was when it was officially born.
Amazing. So what were you doing prior to? Where does the love for corporate events come from?
So when I was at college, I studied travel and tourism and I loved it. I've always had a huge flair for customer service. I really believe in it very firmly. I believe that everyone should have an excellent experience of it. And I've had that from a very young age. I actually think my nana instilled it in me from when I was a tot, to be honest. But anyway, travel and tourism, loved it. And my favourite part was creating an itinerary for a business person, a business traveller. So from the moment they left the house to the moment they came back. And the creation of it, thinking of all the worst case, best case scenarios, plan B, plan C, plan Z, all of it. I got a distinction in that particular subject. So for me, it was all about that. I then moved into the travel and tourism sector. And from speaking to a lot of people, they said that for me to get into the business side of travel and tourism, I would have to be in industry for a good 10 to 15 years on a very low pay, which didn't excite me. So I, as every person does, went home, spoke to my mum about it and said, you know, Mum, what do I do? My mum was a self-employed administrator within a IFA firm. And she said, right, you've got a choice. You can carry along that road or you can come with me. I can train you up as an administrator on your days off and we'll give it 3 months and you can make a decision. I loved it. I absolutely loved the people. I loved dealing with different inquiries, mortgages, protection. There's a little bit of equity release in there. We were starting to zone more in on investments. It was fascinating. So that was the road I went along. So yeah, went into the finance sector, did various administration roles within various companies. There was a little bit of practice management in there as well. So loved it. Then I took a job within a principal partner practice of St James's Place. And I worked for a phenomenal gentleman who I admire to this day and will continue to admire because I just took so many life lessons from him in all sorts of the word. So unfortunately, he was moving his business down to London and I didn't really want to relocate. So he wanted to find me my job, my dream job. Which is where I became to be a marketing and events coordinator. And I took to it overnight. I loved it, like all that love that I had for the itinerary building back when I was at college just came through in abundance. So yeah, so that's kind of where it all came from, really. I just fell into it and loved it.
What is it that you love about it? Is it the planning or is it the people?
Everything. it's the creation. It's starting with the objective and knowing that you can meet those objectives with an event. So whether it's someone wanting to strengthen a relationship, create new relationships, you know that you can do that within an event. You know that you can do it. You can create those synergies, but very organically. It's not a forced environment, because you're creating something that they have an interest in or they're intrigued about. So yeah, it's everything. It's watching it as well. It's sitting back and looking at what you've created 5 minutes before it's all you're about to start, and thinking, yes, this is going to be a great day, or yes, this is going to be a great night, and watching it all unfold. And it's the feedback that you get during the event and after as well, where people say, oh my goodness, I really needed to speak to an accountant, and there's this guy on my table, and we're going to get a meeting booked. But it's so natural. It's so naturally done. They don't know what goes on behind the scenes, and you don't want them to. You want them to see that it's effortless and just fun.
And is that the first kind of conversation that you have with somebody, like as in, like, what is your objective? What do you want the outcome to be from hosting an event?
100%. You need to know the objective. You need to know the objective before you know the budget, I would say.
So true.
So yeah, you do. You need to know why they want to hold this event. Is it to, especially now with the pandemic coming out and showing that, a company showing their clients that they're still there, they're still present, they're still fully invested in that client relationship. Let me take you to this particular event. You're my exclusive guest. It's those things that people want. Yes, we've been able to pivot, shall we say, to the digital side of the fence and all that good stuff, but people are craving that face-to-face interaction reluctantly at the moment, but they're still craving it. They still want those relationships to be built, and the best way to build them is face-to-face.
Yeah, through events. So people come to you, and obviously we've got a lot of businesses out there, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, our attendees throughout, on Zoom as well, and they're kind of like, no, events aren't for me. Why would I have a corporate event? Why would I do an event? So what are the main objectives that people have when they come to you? Is it just that client building, or is it to generate new leads? Is it?
It's both. It's all of the above. And why wouldn't you want to do an event for your clients is my first question. If someone said to me, why should I? Well, why shouldn't you? If your clients mean the world to you, how are you saying that? How are you showing them that? Are you doing enough? No business is ever really doing enough. They can always do a little bit more. And also as well, I do think that businesses, they get to a stage where they've got the clients that they want coming in, but then they want to go to the next level. So what does that client look like, and how do they get them? So their current strategy might not work with that particular client or that particular caliber of client or business. So it's about looking at what they expect and what they want.
Yeah, and I think Action Coach, we always talk about our category of customers, a category of clients, those A's, those B's, those C's, and those D's. And actually, it's those A clients that you get 80% of your revenue from, and it's looking after those and to make them feel that warm and fuzziness, but in the way that they want to be made feel warm and fuzzy, if you know what I mean. That is key, and you can do that through events and the corporate events that you do. So you do corporate. Why not so when people say corporate events, does that mean that you'll do me a corporate wedding, that you'll do me a corporate party, as in 18th, 30th, 40th, that kind of thing? Or is it literally just basically around that business aspect?
It's around the business. So I have a lot of calls, and it's really interesting to understand what people think corporate events are, and actually it does cover a whole range of style of events, but for SJ corporate events, it's specifically based around small to medium sized events. So it's creating an experience, so whether it's a wine tasting, a country pursuits day, a fine dining, a drive day, a seminar, but it's keeping those numbers small so you can create those relationships. It's really focusing on the relationship building or strengthening.
Okay. And so from, again, your kind of point of view. So you start off, a client approaches you and they say, right, I want to hold an event. Talk me through the process. What is the process that you go through for creating that ultimate event for them?
So first of all, I will ask them where the clients that they want to invite, where are they located? Because a client may be based in the Midlands, but most of their clients are based in London. You are not going to get people out of London. So you need to be holding that event in London. So it is about finding out where those clients are located and actually educating the business, because sometimes they can be of the opinion that it should be closer to them for their convenience. So that's always a good conversation. I always then go on to the next part of the conversation, which is who introduces business into you. So have you got introducers on board? Have you got advocates within your client bank? Are these people that you could co-host an event with, so that you are spreading the cost, but also if they're inviting people, then you've got more opportunity to create brand awareness and create more synergies. So really having a conversation, looking at, it's really about going through their whole proposition, what they're doing at the moment, their client bank, picking out those businesses that would be open to doing events with them, and then how you go about approaching them, asking them if they would be up for it, and then sitting down with both of them and asking, or all of them, and asking them what the objectives are, because they will all have the same, but there'll also be some differences as well. So it's creating it around them. So their budget, time, dates, numbers, experience, what they would like to do. I always suggest when I have conversations with clients that they don't throw their whole budget at one event, that they should at least try and do 4 a year, because you're not going to have everyone attending one event, because the date's just not always going to work for everyone, or they might not want to do that style of event. So I always say do 4 different style of events, and then when you're at that event, you can say, oh, would you like to come to this event? So it's encouraging those touch points. And they say there's an average of 8 touch points you need to have with a prospective client before you're able to onboard them. Well, events is a fantastic way of doing that.
Oh, okay. And so I'm a client, I'm coming to you and I'm hosting my event. You were saying about 4 a year. So if I turn around and say, well, I actually want once a month, how, is it basically, do you guide the customer, or is it what they're wanting is kind of key?
It's guiding them, but also listening to them. Companies that are doing events and doing them for the first time, it's quite scary, because how long is a piece of string? How long will it take them to get their return on investment for the events? And really, I do think it's what you put in. So if you're going to go into it half-heartedly, then don't have an expectation, because I can deliver great events, but if you're not putting the right people in those events, I can't. I can do everything, but I can't do that. So it's really down to them. I've spoken to clients and they've wanted one event a year, one event a month. Well, absolutely. And let's look at that. There isn't a lack of options out there. It's just making sure that you're not inviting the same clients every time, because they're just going to get a bit bored of the invitation. And it's just making sure there's that variety and exclusivity as well. If someone feels like it's exclusive, like, would you, here's an invitation to an exclusive event that I'm hosting, someone feels special. They don't feel like a number or just a part of you making a successful business. They actually feel like a treasured part of your community. So
definitely. So obviously, you said right at the very beginning that you set up your business the 1st of August last year. Okay. So there's people out there that are just thinking, well, okay, if she can set it up in the pandemic, I can set it up kind of like now. What would be your advice? What did you go through? Did you just kind of wake up and go, yes, today is the day? Or did you kind of go, I've planned this for 6 months and it's now happening regardless?
I think when you get to that point and you do think about things, and for me personally, it was more of the reasons why I shouldn't that came to the forefront. And then with the pandemic, the question kept coming, it just kept coming through, and I kept thinking about it, and I thought, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. And there's always going to be that what if. So yes, I have a secure job. I love the people that I work with. I love what I do. I have a pure passion for what I do. but what happens if I can do this for more people? What happens if instead of working for one business, I can work for a number of businesses and really help them create more success and create more relationships and really help other people? Why wouldn't I do that? So for me, it was one of those where there was a lot of conversations with my partner and my family, and ultimately the decision sat with me, but of do it, why not? It, instead of me saying, what if, it was, but why not? And yeah.
So what tips and advice, apart from why not and go for it, would you give somebody starting up their business?
Loads.
I
have loads.
We're sitting comfortably. Everybody grab that pen and paper. Grab that pen and paper, guys.
So reading. There's so many good books out there. There are two that I found very, very useful. So the first book I read that actually really helped me at the beginning stages of making my decision and setting up the business was a book, I'm Worth More by Rob Moore. And in the book, he says, and there's a lot of golden nuggets in his book, but one of the things he says, and that he was told to do, was enjoy the process, because you'll only set up your first business once. And so
true. True.
It is. And I probably enjoyed it a little bit too much the first 6 months. But yeah, I've been present the whole way through. I've been very aware of what I've been doing. So I would say that's probably the best bit of advice, is just enjoy it. Don't feel bad. I think you're so used to working a 9 to 5 that you become quite regimented in that approach.
Yeah.
And you feel like if you go and work, you go out for a coffee with a friend, or you're going to meet someone, or you might just want to pop to the shops, or you might just want to sit and watch TV for an afternoon because you started work at 6 o'clock, but it's 3 o'clock and you feel really bad for those 2 hours. It's getting over that. I think it's getting over that mindset that it's actually on you. So if you don't want to do work on that day, that's fine, hun, but you need to have to make up for it at some point, but also don't feel bad about it. So there's that. I would say I joined FSB, so Federation of Small Business, when I joined BNI, so I joined both at the same time, and I really wish I'd done both of those 6 months earlier. FSB has been amazing. They have so much support there for you, from a documentation point of view, to speaking to people on the phone, to their networking opportunities. So I would firmly recommend any startup or someone looking to start up their business to have a conversation with someone there. Julie and I both know someone fantastic, so you can message either one of us and we'll be gladly give you their details. Who else? Networking and groups. So I've joined over the last 6 months quite a few event prof groups, which has been fantastic, actually. So being part of a community of people that, yes, they directly and indirectly are my competition, but when you're speaking to them, you don't feel it. They just we all want to support each other. We all want to help each other as best way as we can. So I would say, and I know from speaking to photographers, they've got WhatsApp group, private Facebook groups, and they're all helping each other, especially in the current situation that we're in. So if someone does get the ping, that they can reach out to their community and say, look, I've got this job, because no one wants to let anyone down. So I think that's a massive thing as well. Surround yourself with people who you aspire to be. So, but also don't compare yourself to them at the same time. I think it's very easy to compare yourself to people that are more established, more successful. You'll get there. Believe in yourself and you will 100% get there. But also look at what ways that they succeed and the things that you like about them. So those are things that and that was a real journey for me, because I felt like I needed to get there quickly, whereas actually I took a step back and saw what bits I liked about them and how I could incorporate that into my business and how I did things. So yeah, learn. People are there to be learned from, so I think that's good. Insurance. I spoke to a friend and she set up a side hustle, which is now turning into, an exciting business opportunity for her. And right at the start, she said, I don't need insurance. Yes, you do. Please.
Love it.
So there's that one. What else? Infrastructure. Yeah, focus on your infrastructure. You know, for me, I have spent a lot of time making sure that I've got everything in place. I'm a process person. I have a process for a process, you know, and I'm not sorry about that. That's who I am. That's why I am good at what I do. So I definitely say focus on that infrastructure. Another one is make time to work on the business, not in the business. It's very easy to do that and not to be a busy fool, which I think we're all guilty of. Me, yeah, I've not got that sussed yet, but I'm getting there.
I was going to say, don't do yourself disservice there, Susie.
We're getting there. We all have a bad day. And then my last one would be, I did say reading, but a book that has really changed things around for me. And I wish I'd read this a year ago, because I think it would have fast forwarded me a lot quicker, is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I'm on my third time of reading this book, and I don't want to ruin it for you guys, but read it because it's great. Like,
what's lovely to see is actually on Facebook at the moment you've got Glenn on there, and he's tagging all these books that you're kind of saying. So I'm Worth More by Ron Moore's on there, and I'm sure The Big Leap will be on there in a minute. So if people are interested in, you know, getting the books, I mean, we've just put up the link for the book on Amazon, so if people are wanting it. But I should mention at this point that, you know, from Action Coach point of view, you know, you are what I would say an amazing kind of client, because, you know, we're all about that re-education, and here you are saying that basically, you know, you need to re-educate yourself because you've gone from a corporate kind of background, and here you are going into, you know, setting up your own business, you know. And one of the key questions that we always ask at the beginning is, are you creating a job for yourself, or are you creating a business? You know, and if you don't know how to set up a business, then you need to re-educate yourself in the respect of through reading. And that's, you know, we have a book club, you know, so it's kind of like, it's keeping people to account that you're going to read those books, and you're going to kind of listen to other people's perspectives, you know, and take on board other people's opinions as well as listening to your own. Because sometimes I think that we read something and we think, well, it means this, but it's only when we're challenged and kind of questioned about it that we learn more from it.
100%. It's a journey, isn't it? The whole business, the whole setting up a business and maintaining a business. It's not just setting up, it's maintaining it. It's a journey. And people, I've quite often been asked, what's your 5-year plan?
You got one of my questions. What are you giving it?
So sorry. But yeah, I have it. I know what my dream is. I know where I want to head to, but I'm also not putting the blinkers on, because I'm open to opportunity. I'm open to those conversations. So I think if you're going to be like this, then you need to understand that it's probably going to be a slightly harder journey, because you're not opening yourself up to different things that you maybe didn't see at the beginning.
Yeah, and I think it's key what you said about, you know, joining a group where there's other people, that corporate event people. And again, you know, it's one of the key things that we always say about Action Coach. It's that world abundance, and one size doesn't fit all, and you can learn so much from other people. You know, I learn continuously from other coaches within the Action Coaching, you know, community, and that's what it's all about. It's the community feel. And I think sometimes business owners out there, and especially when you're starting up a new business, it's about, you feel that everybody's competition, and they're not.
They want to help. Most people are really lovely, and they want to help. And I think now more than ever, after the last 18 months, people understand. Everyone's been on the same journey, you know, maybe slightly different dependent on where they are and where their business is, but everyone's been present in the last 18 months. No one's just woken up and been like, what the hell's just happened? Like, everyone is very aware. So, and you can ask, and you can show that, you know, that you're worried, or you have a fear of it all. You know, we have our 30x drop-in every Tuesday. You know, it's an informal way of being held accountable for what you're doing and what you're working on, and I thoroughly enjoy it. You know, that is always in my calendar every Tuesday at 1:30, and I love it. I think it's great. It's great to speak to other businesses, and kind of just bear all, really. Sometimes you can go on there and say, no, I've had a really bad week, you know, I've struggled with this, and other people will sympathize with you and tell you how they've got past that, if they've ever gone, if they have, well, they have. Or if you're having a really good week, you're having people that want to celebrate that with you, and they're your biggest cheerleaders and your support group as well. So
yeah,
create those groups.
for those people that are out there that don't know about our 30x program, it's about where you can 30 times your business or increase your business by 30%. And it's a series of videos that are created by Brad Sugars, who's our founder basically of Action Coach, and they're amazing. And like you say, it's about learning. Nothing he says is nothing new, but it's actually that re-education that you're talking about, Susie. I mean, Aaron's saying, love the book recommendations, by the way. You're on fire, apparently, because there's a little fire emoji, all about the emojis. Love it. But it's about kind of re-educating yourself about business, because even though you have been doing events in the corporate world, you know, all of a sudden you're by yourself.
Which is scary, by the way, really scary. No one tells you how lonely that is when you're sat in your office and you sat there and you're thinking, oh, I've really done this. and you have pure fear, like a fear of that can be debilitating, because you just think, what do I do? And when you have those days, and because we've all had them, I don't know one person that I've not met that hasn't had one of those days, you just have to look after yourself. But you have to enjoy it as well, and know that getting comfortable with feeling uncomfortable and the unknown, because no day is the same, and working for someone where you have that security and actually setting it up yourself are two different things. And I don't think you can actually stress that enough, because everyone has their own journey. I feel like when I've got to a certain point, I'm going to write a book. I feel like I should write a book, because I think it's actually be quite funny.
I love it. So you touched upon, I love that. I'm going to revisit that in a minute, because I love the fact that you're going to write a book. You touched upon your dream, okay, your kind of goal, your ambition, and it's quite funny at Profit Club tomorrow. So at our Profit Club session tomorrow, it's all about systemization, but it's about that dream and about that goal, that 100-year goal. What is your lighthouse? What is your shining beacon that is so big, hairy and audacious that you are working towards? So what is that dream, Susie?
They say dream big. And I'm a firm believer in that. So yes, I want the nice house. I don't want to have to worry about the money and, you know, all that good stuff. I want my family and my friends and all my loved ones to be healthy and happy. My whole concept of life is experiences. It's about creating wonderful experiences for people. So for me, if I can continue to create wonderful experiences for people within business and at home, then I've succeeded. To me, life is about doing all the wonderful things that you want to do. So whether that's at home or at work. So I want to see the world. I want to have those experiences. I've already had amazing experiences. I want to continue to do that. And yeah, I just want to have a business. My ultimate aim for the business is to have event planners working for me where we all have specialisms within certain sectors. Okay. So whether it's property, construction, IT, pharmaceuticals, financial services, we will all have a specialism. We will all come from that sector, have experience within that sector, and be able to create phenomenal events. I also want to create a business where it's gone of the days of 9 to 5 and structure and, you know, we're doing this and we're doing that. I want it to be a family. I want it to be a corporate family where we do it together, you know, because I've worked in that environment and it's amazing. And I just think that's something that we are all starting to adopt, but we should adopt more.
I think you again, you hit the nail totally on the head. Business should give you choices. Fundamentally, it's all about choices, and that's what you're talking about. It's the choice to be able to go off to travel, choice to buy that car, choice to buy the house. It's down to whatever that individual choice is. So your choices will maybe be very different to my choices, but the fact that our businesses should be able to give that to us, I think, is key. And I think there's so many people out there at the moment that necessarily their business can't give them that choice at the moment. And I always talk about that, you always hear about that business that's overnight success. And actually what they don't hear about is the 10-year, 20-year, 30-year, like hard slog and blood, sweat and tears beforehand. They just hear about that success moment. And I think sometimes it's quite disconcerting because you compare yourself to them. So if I said to you, you're creating a corporate event, okay, who is the ultimate client? Who is the one person that you would love to create a corporate event? And let's see if we can make it happen. Put you on the spot here, haven't I?
You really have.
I told you I'd think of odd questions as the chat would go along.
Julie Cameron, it's a good job you're my star on a stick, isn't it? Do you know, for me, it's the underdog. Yes, I could say I want a well-established business. Yes, of course I do. But I also want to help those businesses where they're so passionate about their clients. They're so passionate about the service that they deliver, and they want to just excel in that and do more. And they just don't quite know how to do that. Events is the way forward, 100%. So whether that is in property, construction, financial services, all of those sectors are companies that, the sectors that I can work in, and I can adapt my proven process that works for events to create a strategy that would work for them for events.
So proven process, tell me more.
It works.
You get me proven, because I'm all about that testing and measuring and creating systems that work. So you're talking my kind of language. What is your proven process?
When I fell into my job, which I didn't fall into, I did work hard for it, but it was one of those, I'd done admin all my life, and suddenly my flair, what I thought I'd lost or whatever, I sat and I watched the marketing manager for a period of time and watched how they created the events and how their process, which was fantastic, but it was quite old school. There was a lot of paper on the desk, which did stress me out and a lot of the others out. But I didn't really find Google or Pinterest, which probably would have pushed me forward a lot quicker. But I just went off what I thought would work well. So I created a whole process. Instead of starting it sort of 6 weeks prior to the date that the event was, everything was 3 to 4, 5, 6 months in advance. So there was it dependent on what the objective was for the event, and also the amount, the amount we were spending on the event would depend on, how much time, and also the amount of companies that we were co-hosting the event with. So the process would be created, and we did have various types of events. There wasn't one particular event, so there were different types. So I would have a process broken down for those individual types of events. Mm-hmm. And every time I had completed an event, I would go back through the process and see what worked, what didn't work, what needed to have more work on, and I would continue to tweak. And every year I would sit down with the owner of the business, and we would go through what worked, what didn't work, and what we needed to improve on, mm-hmm. how it's benefited the business, and just push forward. Mm-hmm. The process works. If you allow enough with anything, if you allow enough time, so that you can perfect it, then it's going to work. If you rush something and you try and get something done in 2 or 3 weeks, which I have turned events around in 2 or 3 weeks, which has been very stressful, and I wouldn't advise it. It's also not as enjoyable, because an event is an experience for the company that you're doing it for, and not just their clients. It's an experience for everyone, and you want it to be enjoyable and not pressured. Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, do you obviously the ultimate aim for a customer, I was going to say it's kind of that catch-22. You're either with events, kind of, for want of a better term, oozy schmoozing your current clients. You're looking after them, you're giving them, what's the word, you're rewarding them, you're kind of saying, you're my best clients, put you in the big, yes, thank you. The word, but you're giving them a big warm cuddle, aren't you, for want of a better term, or you're trying to generate leads and generate more increased business into your business from that event. Now, if a company is sat out there and they're looking at kind of like, right, okay, so I've bought into events, I want to host an event, I'm looking at January next year, so it's giving you a good lead time, what could I anticipate as my return on investment? What is the typical investment that I would have to make into making an event a potential good one?
I mean, it really depends on how much you're budgeting for your whole event schedule and how much you're budgeting for this particular event.
Yeah.
And the return on investment, it's not, and this is where a lot of people can get disheartened when I've had conversations with people and they've said, how quickly can I get my return back? Well, how long is a piece of string? It really, I can show up, and create the event, but actually it's about you showing up as well. So it's about that business person who's wanting to create leads. It's about them showing up on the day and them knowing what they want to get out of it. So with the best will in the world, if someone turns up and they're not really that bothered, then they're not going to get anything from it. They've wasted their money. Whereas if they're turning up and they know the people that are in the room, it is about, doing as much research behind the scenes. So LinkedIn, Companies House, speaking to people that know them, people that, will be inviting them as a guest. It's getting all that information. I couldn't tell you a percentage on return on investment because but it is about creating those relationships and maintaining as well. So it's what you do afterwards. So it is touching base with them afterwards. It is asking for people's feedback as well. Events is massive but people don't ask for feedback, or they don't use the feedback to better the service or better the next event, which I think's key, really. So I would say it all forms part of how you get your return, how you utilize that information after the event. If you meet someone at an event, how quickly are you going to contact them? Are you going to contact them that night and say thank you so much, it was lovely to meet you, or the next day, with a follow-up invitation to another event, or just to let you know, I may have mentioned to you that I'm now, I've actually been invited to Ascot, would you come with me, as my guest? We've got this, we've got this, that and the other. Yeah, that would be amazing, thank you. It's all those things that it's keeping those people's attention, because as we know with anything, people have a short attention span when they're not invested.
Yeah, no, I agree. It kind of brings me back to kind of the webinar that I did on Monday about kind of selling and being that sales machine, and that a lot of people do believe that you've got rapport selling and following it up, and the old way of selling was that it was like a diamond, and so your bit in the middle was where you're selling, so you were doing the bulk of it was the selling, but you weren't doing the rapport and the follow-up. Whereas what it should be is two triangles on top of each other. So actually the selling that's in the middle should be the bit that you're not spending much time on, and it's the rapport building and the follow-up, which an event is perfect for at the end of the day, because you're building that rapport, and then you're doing maybe a little bit of selling in the middle, but then it's the follow-up, and follow-up to me is absolutely key.
It's absolutely key. It's how you're going to create those relationships. It's one of those, isn't it? You need to use that information. I've seen businesses in the past that haven't used that information, and it's frustrating because they've got it there at their fingertips. They've been, GDPR, they've actually been allowed to use that information, and they've not done. What can you do? Take the horse to water. But
so what lessons have you learned so far? You've set up a business in a pandemic, it's going from strength to strength, so what lessons have you kind of learned from the start of your journey last year?
Rome was not built in a day, guys. That is my first one.
That's classic.
I remember on the 1st of August, I remember getting up, yes, right, so I'm going to do this, and this. And I think I actually exhausted myself and then became really upset that it was going to take a lot longer. So yeah, Rome was not built in a day. Listen to your body. That's my main thing. I think mental health has become such a big thing in the last 18 months. So listen to your body. I would recommend, if you have a business or if you're, an individual, speak to wellbeing in your office or at home. Zach Fairbanks is fantastic. He does some fantastic retreats that are really good. I've partaken in a couple of them, and they've been really, really good. And from a business point of view, they really do help you just separate from stresses that are going on. I had a wonderful mentor who would often tell me to have a CEO day, which I found incredibly difficult because I didn't see myself as a CEO at the start. But you know, when you go and have a massage or you doing something for you, like you do need to reward yourself, because you know it is hard. So definitely take those days. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I think are the lessons that I've learned. I'm quite a proud person, so I think I've sometimes struggled to ask for help, but now I've learned that actually that's the best way to get further in life, is to ask those questions, those awkward questions, that you maybe don't want to seem weak, but actually it's not. It's good to have that knowledge. Yeah, don't compare yourself to others. As I've said before, I've done that. Been there, done that. Don't do it. Make sure you create time for you. So it's creating that work-life balance. Remember why you're setting up your business, I think, is the main thing. At first I was just 24/7, you know, I was a busy fool, and yeah, it just needed to stop. So I, you know, remembered why I was doing what I was doing. And when I first joined BNI, I think I was scheduling 10 calls with people a week, which was fantastic. I was meeting so many wonderful businesses, but it wasn't sustainable. I couldn't carry on doing that. You know, I've now brought it down to 5 to 6. So, you know, it's a good number.
I still argue that that's too many, Susie, but you know, we can discuss that in our next session. It's fine.
But the thing is, for me, is I want to, because of where I am, it's about that relationship. And it's also, I can speak to so many different businesses. I can, you know, in the event side of things, whether it's, you know, venues, catering, entertainment, photographers, digital side of things, marketing, before I've even started having conversations with potential clients. There's just, I just love hearing about people and wanting to help people. And I think that's another thing as well, you know, bringing in BNI, it's the giver's gain. You know, definitely see how you can help businesses. It might not have a monetary aspect at the end of it, but actually worst thing you can ask for is a testimonial. The best thing you can ask for actually is a testimonial. I've done that before. I've helped businesses, and in return they've given me, you know, lovely testimonials. So yeah,
it's about having that. We always talk about that every conversation should have a purpose. You'd always have an outcome. So if the outcome that you're getting from it is a referral, brilliant. But if it's a testimonial, brilliant. Do you know what I mean? It's always got to have an outcome. Like you say, regardless of whether it's a monetary aspect or not, what is the outcome? Every conversation should have a purpose, whether it's building that relationship so that it's a future referral or that testimonial. I think is great. It's a really key point. Totally. Carry on.
I mean, money's a bonus, isn't it? I mean, it's not like it makes the world go round or anything. So.
Or the way that you look at it is that those conversations that you're having at the beginning of your business are setting the foundations. They're setting the foundations for those people that then they become those customers. They become those, you know, the prospects, clients, customers, you know, repeat customers. They become those raving fans that in a way they're out there doing your job for you. So then you don't need to have those 5, 10, 15 one-to-ones each week, because they're doing it for you. Just like, and it's quite key actually on this call, Susie, that you're sat there. I mean, this is meant to be about you, and you've promoted FSB, you've promoted Zach, do you know what I mean? All of these different people, because you've built those relationships up with them. You know,
I think they're phenomenal people, and I think in anything in business is that if you're going to succeed, it's because you believe in the people that you've had those conversations with and you've had experiences of working with. And I think it's important to promote them and, you know, say your own authentic words about them. So, you know, I wouldn't be doing this call if I didn't believe in Action Coach and everything that you've done to help me. That's it for me. So I firmly believe in, I'm all about the people that I support and believe in. So for me, I want to have those conversations so I can increase that.
Yeah, but I think it's phenomenal when you listen that, you know, that you have all of these kind of relationships, and you've built those relationships. And yes, you know, my background is all events and hospitality, and I love it, and I love talking about them, because I think events are just They're amazing. And it's been an industry that has been obviously massively impacted. And I know that we were having a conversation the other day with regards to, I think a lot of people coming out, lockdowns lifted, let's go out, let's do this. But you said it quite early on, there is still that anxiousness, that kind of trepidation about going back into face-to-face like events where there's a lot of people. Do you think that we will ever go back to having those hundreds and hundreds and hundreds kind of events, or do you think people see the value of virtual in comparison to face-to-face?
I hate talking virtual and physical events because I'm very biased.
No, be biased, love, be biased. I don't mind.
Virtual works incredibly, and it has allowed businesses to stay open. It's allowed them to, not have to get rid of staff. It's allowed them, they have readjusted their proposition to make it work for them. And I think fair play to you. Well done for seeing outside of the box and seeing an opportunity and grabbing it with both hands. Massive thumbs up for me. From my point of view and from my business, I love virtual, but I miss that synergy. What you just get to know a person so much more by sitting face to face, by sitting opposite them, by reading, not just listening to them, but you're reading their body language. You're getting to know whether you trust them and whether there's someone that you would like to encourage a relationship with. So virtual can't do that for you. So physical does. You go on your gut instinct on someone far quicker face to face than what you would do virtually. So it's a lot more of a hard slog, I would say, virtually.
So if you had somebody out there listening, okay, and they're kind of going, oh, it makes sense, but I'm still nervous, I'm still, kind of anxious about it. What advice would you give to somebody who's thinking, I want to do it, but I don't want to do it. I don't know what I'm doing. Help me.
I would say have a conversation with me, because let me put your mind at rest. At the end of the day, you're good at what you do. I'm good at what I do. So rather than making that decision by what you've read, because there's a lot of scaremongering out there, the press is fantastic at that. Speak to the people that know what is safe. At the end of the day, I am not going to put any of my clients in a situation where it could jeopardize their brand, their company. I speak to them the whole way through. I'm very aware of everything that's going on. And at the end of the day, an event planner has to think quick on their feet. So if there needs to be a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, we've already covered that in a backup plan. So we know how to make those changes quickly and how to do them efficiently. So have that conversation. Don't make a decision on something which is led by your emotion, because you're cutting yourself short. And at the end of the day, doing an event of 100, 200, 300 people, if that makes you feel uncomfortable, then that's not the number for you, and that's not the number for me. So if you're looking to do something for 40, 50 people or 10, 20, then let's have a conversation, because that is my specialism, and I can 100% create those events for you and make you feel comfortable.
Brilliant. So if I always ask this question, I didn't put it in our kind of chats beforehand. Susie's going, oh, here we go. But I have asked you previously. So if your business could talk to you, okay, and it could talk to you and say, anything, what would it say to you right now?
Stop having so much fun.
Really? But fun's good. Business should be fun.
That's my point. It wouldn't. I'm loving my journey. Some days I'm really scared, but other days, most days, I wake up and I just pat myself on the back thinking, yeah, well done you. It would probably tell me to not be, probably to go out there a little bit more and be a bit more out there with, create more brand awareness. But yeah, I'm having a great time, and even with everything that's going on, forever the optimist. It's not a case of if with events, it's just a case of when.
Oh, I like that. I do like that. That's brilliant. So what are you focusing on now? What is your kind of focus now? Let's round this off, because I can't believe it's 10 to 1 already. So I'm just checking on Facebook if there's any questions actually. But there's a lot of positivity coming through. BNI's been tagged in this, FSB's been tagged, BNI Phoenix has been tagged. Roz is loving the fact that I'm a star on a stick, which I love, obviously. There's obviously what I said about Aaron with the book recommendations. Roz is wanting to get you along to our book club so that you can chat about books, because she loves books too. So what is the future holding for Susie? What is the end of the year looking like? What's next year? What plans do you have for your business?
Full of events, hopefully. I am starting to work with a number of marketing companies, because I think for me, the two of us work very well together. And there's a majority of marketing companies out there that have a great client bank, and their clients would naturally go to them and ask them about anything else that they should be doing, i.e. events. So any marketing companies out there that want to have a conversation about how we can partner up together, I'm open to those conversations. I'm also finalising a course that I've created, giving people my step-by-step event process. So there may be businesses out there who want to do events, but they're not sure whether they have the budget to cater for events and, you know, paying for a business to do it. So I have created a step-by-step process which then their administrators, their practice managers can follow. And it does have a lot of guidance on there and helpful tips and documents that they would find very, very useful. So I'm just finalising that. So if anyone wants any more information on that, then they just need to let me know as well.
Yeah, I think I was going to say we've popped your website details into Facebook and LinkedIn. So if anybody does want to reach out to Susie, then please feel free. But yeah, I think for today, Susie, thank you so much for joining me. I've loved my chat with you, because obviously, like I said, I love the whole corporate event. And just before we go, just when you're talking about marketing agencies and things like that, and creating those strategic, we call them strategic alliances, I think it's one of those moments that a lot of people don't realize out there, actually, that creating the strategic alliances can be so powerful, because they have the same database that you're wanting, you know. Absolutely. And it may be a long-term kind of referral partner, but actually it's so powerful. So powerful. It
really is, because you're giving the client everything. So you're giving them a complete holistic side of the marketing and event strategy. Yeah. And, you know, they are specialists at what they do, and they're phenomenal at what they do. And I would never step on their toes, because it's a very in-depth job that, you know, marketeers have. But we, you know, the two of us can work incredibly well together and in sync. So to me, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and it's looking at that kind of, I always talk about it, that life cycle of the business. So and I know if Steve's listening out there, he'll laugh at this one, because we always talk about, you know, like you are selling turf. Okay, so who comes before you? Oh, a landscape gardener, because a landscape gardener is redoing your garden. They're looking for turf, so they are great partnership for you. But then who comes after you? It's the lawnmower, because they need a lawnmower to cut the turf. So again, it's looking a little bit kind of where you are in your business and where the people out there are in their business. Who comes before you, who comes after you, and who do you want to work with? You know, and it's making that list of people and contacting them, because it's going to be, sometimes they've not thought about, actually I could work with them, because they've not looked outside the box, and actually you approaching them. So it's about having the guts and the kind of what's the worst that could happen?
But isn't that what you could say to everything in life? Like, what is the worst that could happen? Someone says no, okay, bye, next.
But it's okay, and that's so hard for some people out there, but you have got such a positive attitude that I know that your business is going to go strength to strength. So thank you so much for joining me today. I've absolutely loved it. Like I say, if anybody out there on Facebook or LinkedIn or on Zoom are wanting to get in contact with Susie, her details are in the chat boxes. So thank you very, very much.